essentially, essentially for all of you who are students and faculty members here, let me add this one, shall we say, contextual tone before I hand the floor over to Mr. Arun Sitaram. AI, as you know, presents a dilemma by both enabling some innovative use cases that may, well, reduce environmental impact, but it also risks a further acceleration of environmental harm due to the very intense resource use that AI brings. You know about it, of course, and these panelists and experts here will talk about it. Existing legislation or any such frameworks, regulatory, often fall short of providing any complete, comprehensive guidance for companies to assess and to integrate AI-related measures for sustainability. Well, therefore, such assessments and disclosures for AI systems, well, continue to remain complex due to existing methods that don't fully account for the environmental impact of the supply of the AI supply chain itself. I will stop here and request Arun Sitaram. I'm not going to offer you an introduction to Arun. As a matter of fact, he knows every single panelist here. And on the chat box, you will see profiles, short thumb sketches of each of these panelists appearing. So watch out for those. And one more request. All of you as panelists, as participants, if you have anything that you want to share with the panelists as questions or as insights, please put it up in the chat box. We will be monitoring it. Mr. Arun Sitaram will also do that. And then we will take those questions up at the end of this discussion that he will now host with the panel. Over to you, Arun. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir, for the introduction and setting the tone for our discussion going forward. Welcome to all the panelists and guests, as well as participants who have joined in today. This is a discussion that is going to happen where each of our panelists, who are themselves subject experts in various areas, will lay out a landscape of what is happening in AI for sustainability. Each one will share their perspectives and what they're working on. Please remember, they're not representing their organization, but instead representing the subject that we're talking about on AI. And they will give you, students as well as faculty and others, different perspectives to take away from this. At the end of this, we will take a few questions. And if you have more questions, we'll be glad to answer them. We will share an email where you can share your questions and we'll get back to you with answers on that. Without taking much time, to ensure that we stick to our schedule, I'd request the first speaker, Mr. Biswajit Biswas. Actually doesn't need much of an introduction. He is the chief data scientist at Tata Elxsi, and he's driving advanced computing and innovation, which comes with over 27 years of industry experience. So been there, seen that, done it. He's worked across different industry verticals. He understands different industries, helped them transform to become new things, especially with AI as well. He's been working very closely with it for media, healthcare, transportation, and Industry 4.0. He will share some perspectives on what the IT industry sees with the upcoming GCC thought process and others, where data centers are becoming big, as well as AI is expected to play a major role. I'll now hand over the session to Mr. Biswajit to take the discussion forward.
Sure. So thank you very much, the esteemed panelists and the PGM team founding members and everyone who is attending this. So I'll just probably share my screen just to. I have few slides to hold the thoughts, which is for today's theme, and yeah, as so hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about the sustainable computing in the context of AI. I think as ever since this computing has started, there has been always a question or concern like how much of additional power or computing power we are using. So all of us have been doing this Google search for ever since Google has been, and then the ChatGPT moment arrived just 2.5-3 years back. And if you see, when you do a Google search, the amount of power the data center consumes, if you roughly estimate, So it's like, I mean, lighting a bulb for an hour. So that's the typical, power consumption for every search you make. And then when ChatGPT happens, when you make a prompt or answers, so it is 10 times more. I mean, it's basically the 10 more bulbs you are glowing. So it gives a perspective. So people are, I mean, are doing all sort of prompting queries. Almost every other thing's now going to these, this LLM based inferencing and output. So it's a tenfold increase in the computing power, and this phenomenon is ever going to rise. And the whole focus is now on the data centers, where the electricity consumptions is going to surge. Though the overall compute power is still within reasonable limits, 2 to 3%. In fact, last 40, 50 years when the computer industry started, so the electricity consumption has gone up by 30%. So this is just computerization alone. And if you look at the next few years horizon, the power consumptions, the data center power consumptions is going in just in a short term time, which is 10 years. So every year you'll see about 1.5 2%. And so that is a rise you'll be seeing. And not just the power but also the water. And as you know, these data centers are very power hungry, and this needs cooling, and this cooling needs lots of cold water. So and you know that many of these data centers are actually submerged in oceans, in the Arctic oceans. Many of them have put data centers below that. So all of that. So there are various innovative ways to kind of cool those. But as the data centers are coming near the edge cities, it is competing with the same power grid which is serving the households. So the challenge is becoming even more. So it is competing with the same power. It is competing with the same water resource, which is actually we are the safe water we are drinking. And the water has to be clean. It has to be all that. So it basically means that your drinking water is getting used for cooling some of these data centers. And that's a bit of worry. I mean, if you look at the types of where the energy gets consumed in AI, so most of it, 40%, is basically the computing systems, and then you have the cooling system, the other two. About 80% of your the power consumption happens in these two areas. And then of course storage, lighting, etc., the AC and other things. So you can see that there is a massive amount of power consumptions happening across this. And so how to make it sustainable? So that's why this sustainable computing word has come in the dictionary. And last few years people have been very consciously working on some of these approaches. So primarily this eco-conscious approach, like we are not unmindful of this huge the data crunching, which cost a lot of power and water, and then nature inspired design, reducing carbon footprint, and so forth. So these are the five areas we are seeing, which is very, I mean, contextually the sustainable computing area. One is green AI. This is basically the AI models and machine learning models you use that has to be power efficient, and it should not it has to be frugal. It should use as less data as possible. Green data means, again, I mean, like make AI models which is which can be using only few images to learn or a few text to learn, and so forth. So that's another, the frugal machine learning. Actually, frugal data learning is a subject itself. So people who are in academics can actually understand this, how that works, how the models are becoming more and more, I mean, much more efficient. So you don't need 10,000 images to train a model. So only 100 is even one, or a single shot learning, and a few shot learning. Some of these concepts have come up. Physics informed machine learning. So again, that is a last couple of years we have started using this technique called physics informed machine learning. So for more technical oriented, the way these models are built, there is always a cost function. The cost function is generally like, how do you optimize this neural network in the through a backward propagation method. But the cost function is generally, how do you reduce the prediction versus actual error. There's no physics involved here. But there are many natural processes, like for example in fluid dynamics, thermodynamics, or any areas where you need to have those physics, which is a governing equation rather than just a cost function of optimization. So if you use some of that method, the optimization is faster. If you do a brute force optimization, that's not really a very intelligent way, or that's not a very optimal way. So you have to use nature or physics to kind of solve some of these optimization problems. So that becomes a more optimal solutions. Or green life cycle, where is the kind of programming languages used, the design life cycle used, the architecture used. So all of that has impact on how much of compute power you are going to use. So over the period of time, software design has changed. So earlier we used to do structural design, object oriented design. Then we had container based microservice design. Now we are more and more agentic design. So as this life cycle is evolving for different types of software architecture, so this has a bearing. So when you are developing a software, many of you in this are into the software development, so be mindful of the type of architecture you select and so forth. And lastly, finally, the neuromorphic computing. So neuromorphic computing is it's a more bio inspired neuron based computing. So today the neural networks used, they are actually, the name is only neural network, but actually hardly there is anything of neural network, biological neural network at all. These are just a set of linear functions connected together. We call it piecewise linear functions. We just connect it back to solve it. It's a simultaneous equation solver at a mass scale. There's nothing neural about it. But neuromorphic computing is exactly how our neurons work. So there is a spiking neuron concept where our neuron goes to 3 steps activation. So these are some examples of how we very closely or mimic the biological neurons, and we become extremely efficient in power. So in fact, this neuromorphic computing is 100th time more efficient than any neural networks we have built, so rather we are working with. So these are some examples. Neuromorphic computing, early stage, a lot of space technologies are using neuromorphic computing. We are involved in some of this development, and we have seen these early results when a very fast compute in a sensor where there is no power attached at all, and you are only limited in a battery powered in a very remote area. So these are the cases where you have to have neuromorphic computing. Now I will give quickly very few examples. So one of these, a practical usage of where some of these are, applicable are the PFAS. PFAS is it's a polyfluoro or a microplastic assessment. So especially in the medical domain, it's very useful. I mean, every tea you drink, every water you drink from a bottle, so there is a very micro amount of plastic goes into our body, and this is very harmful. And doctors have established there are many toxic effect at different parts of our bodies, etc. And especially when in a surgery case, when there are a lot of plastics are used for for your body implants, for and other things, so that should not impact your the whole recovery process. And how much of plastic goes is a very very big matter of concern. So now we are using AI to detect what are the set of tools or implants and other things which are used to kind of do the whole surgery process, so that the total value of microplastic is minimal. So that combination, the bill of material, can be AI suggested or AI recommended, so that you have the least amount of microplastic going to your body. And there are a bunch of softwares which actually kind of guides us. It traces back the origin of manufacturers, their mention of how much of what quantities of materials they have used, what is percentage of the microplastic flowing into your bloodstream, etc. So all of that basically gets calculated online, and a set of recommendation comes. So the doctor gets a kind of suggestion like these are the set of things which can be used for this surgery item. So this is one example of how AI is used to kind of assess the type of medical products used in a surgery to minimize the microplastic infusion. Next is a battery life cycle management. As you know, that electric cars are now becoming everywhere. We are getting into more electrified world. So a very responsible way of managing these battery is very important. So we have to have some way of like disposing these batteries, and it is not one or two battery cycles. A electric car has thousands of battery cells, several thousands, and disposing them is very very important. So there is a lot of regulations which are coming up. For example, what is the supply chain transparency, chain of custody, from which source it will go to where, carbon footprint, scalabilities, and of course analytics and insight, how the batteries to be life has to be maximized. So what is the eco recommendation for driving in a most efficient way, so that the battery cycle is battery life cycle, battery life time is increased significantly. Some of that is very important, because it is very important to kind of use, or many of the ingredients which are used in the battery has to be recyclable, and it has to go back to its origin, and etc. So this battery life cycle is one of the very important thing. And this is again, and what is the AI here? So AI is doing all sort of analytics, how you are driving, what is your eco recommendations, how fast you can reach to a destination without compromising other safety parameters and so on, and what is the best way to dispose of, what is your nearest charging station, so on and so forth. So everything has to be integrated well, so that all this works in sync, so that you get the maximum out of it. And also finally, how do you dispose the battery, who is the right guy, who has the right credentials for taking these batteries out and taking it to the next set of processes. So there is a lot of work happening in Tata Group, and we are part of that. So we call it a product platform called Mobius, and so on and so forth. Now, some of the examples in the sustainability in design. So there are a lot of innovations happening in every products being built. For example, an advanced cooling system for refrigerators, so which actually saves a lot of energies. Compressors in the in the refrigerator is becoming more and more optimized. There is a lot of analytics happens on how the airflow design has to be optimized, reduce the testing and iterations, and so on and so forth. So typically, all these products, the design process is going through an AI validation process, and through that we are able to increasingly make it more efficient, energy aware, and so forth. The second example is a tea vending machine. So the tea vending machine is designed in such a way it creates less than 1% of wastage. So you get the maximum out of some of these the products, and even in the plastic packaging. So there are the packaging process is so well optimized, so that you have the minimum number of cardboards and other structures which are used to kind of package a product. So it's basically an example of every part of your product design actually has a great contribution of AI to kind of solve some of these problems, where you can use AI algorithms to kind of give you best recommendations and best way of getting things done. And more examples on sustainable manufacturing: a fiber filtering washing machine system, where there is kind of which can reduce the microbes released into the water oceans while washing the clothes, etc. So these are small examples where a small improvement can go a great way. And then this, even the bottle design. So the way the bottles are designed, shampoo bottles. So there is an Indian brand which you have worked on. So we optimize this bottle in such a way that it reduces plastic consumptions, reduces truck loadability, so you can maximum number of bottles can be carried into the truck in a way, so that you need minimum number of truck loads. And your truck is a not a very carbon friendly way of transporting.
So 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. And of course, some more examples in the factory, smart manufacturing. So where we have examples of, like, you kind of design the whole factory in a digital twin systems, and create a most optimal way of how to process, how to make the process of finished goods, traceability of rejected parts, everything simulated in a digital twin environments. And I mean, in fact, instead of doing it really on the actual factory floor, you can improve that in the digital. So today those options are available. And another good example, like water body monitoring. So there are visual systems implemented where the water quality is always monitored. And if any factory is throwing some effluent into the water body, it sets an alarm and gives a set of indications that yes, the amount of effluent has to be regulated, or or the people who are doing that are actually notified much before it actually contaminates the whole water body. So these are some of the examples. And of course the regulation landscape is coming on the way. So I mean, it is still in the evolving stage, and EV, UAS, they are all coming up with set of uh, AI Act, Environmental Sustainability Acts, and that has become a prime focus in many of these acts which are coming. Even PGMT has contributed to the IGBC, and today tries enforcing a green data center certification for any data center which are coming up. So yes, sustainable computing is today a great focus, and AI has a great role to play at every aspect of software design, product design, lifecycle design, etc. And there is a parallelly the effort happening in the AI Act. So with that, I probably stop and ask. I mean, probably take a few questions later. And thanks everyone again.
Thank you, Biswajit, for sharing your thoughts. Uh, I'd like to invite the next speaker, Manas. Manas leads a company that develops multiple generative AI-driven SaaS products. I know him more as a faculty teacher than somebody who runs a business. So he keeps complaining that I haven't really considered the work that he does, which includes a lot of generative AI-based robotic interview agents. Students who are on the attendees will have to start gearing up to address these interview agents who are now going to be taking your interviews, and there'll be no human intervention to conduct these interviews, and also identify some of the skills. So he does teach on various platforms where he is teaching the generative AI courses for both students as well as technologists. So I think we have to start getting prepared to see how this will work going forward. Manas?
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. All right, I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, coming up.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you for my introduction, and thanks PGMT and the entire audience for inviting us here. It's a great pleasure and great initiative creating awareness about sustainability and role of AI in sustainability, etc. So, a disclaimer, I'm not an expert in ESG or sustainability. I'm a technologist. I dabble with AI a little bit for the past few years. Teaching is my passion, as Arun mentioned. Teaching is my passion. I mean, me and my company, we do a lot of product development in AI and generative AI. So that's my background. And in fact, this session invite give me also a little bit of opportunity to uh, increase my knowledge on sustainability and AI's role, deep role in sustainability. But before we get to, I mean, I do have some overlap with the approach of presentation of Biswajit's as well. So you may find a few things repeating. So first of all, before we get on to the topic of AI's role in sustainability, as Biswajit also mentioned, the AI itself, in terms of sustainability, is a elephant in the room. People are not discussing about it so much, but there's a huge impact. I mean, just last year, Mark Zuckerberg finally formally acknowledged the huge environmental impact the work on AI that is going on around the world are making, and we definitely need to control them. And also, the theme of the discussions of today, which is how do we use AI in sustainable. So as Biswajit touched upon a lot of different examples of how we use AI in making everything product development, manufacturing, etc., sustainable. Right. So some of the aspects, I mean, or some of the angles through which AI makes a massive environmental impact. Model training. So this way you touched upon examples like making a Google search or executing a prompt on ChatGPT. But even before that, when we train the models, like GPT-3 or GPT-4, there are some quantifications, some of the studies have done, including this particular study from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of University of Massachusetts University, and it says training a model like GPT-3 can emit 626,000 pounds of CO2, which is massive, and it's equivalent to the lifetime emissions of 5 cars or energy used by 120 homes in an year in the US. And mind you, the energy consumption levels in the US are much higher than energy consumption levels in India, or for that matter, in countries, Asian countries, or countries like China. Right. So, I mean, they may be double or triple or maybe even more on an average. So this quantification is really huge. And that is, we are talking about model training of GPT-3, one-time model training, and we have hundreds and thousands, even millions of models out there in the market. There are Amazons of these generative AI models, which if you explore platforms like Hugging Face, if you go to Hugging Face, you will literally find multiple millions of models out there, and they have guzzled enormous amount of electricity while they were trained. Okay, some of the models were small, some of the models were as huge as GPT-3 or even bigger. So they have guzzled, in fact, a lot of electricity, and they have emitted a lot of CO2 in the environment. Data centers, Biswajit touched upon data center, and at this moment, the data center electricity demand is anything between 1% to 2% of the global electricity uh, production, right? So, and that itself emit a lot of, a lot of carbon dioxide and other stuff. A lot of this energy are produced using fossil fuels, and I mean, a large percentage of this electricity are generated using fossil fuels, and hence the emission level for data centers are really significant. Now there are some controls also, as Biswajit mentioned, that the regulatory landscape are evolving, right, in all the countries. Now you may have heard about this initiative by the government of India, whereby it's called India AI Mission. If you have heard about it, it's going on in the news on and off, and there is a tendering process that is happening from government of India, coordinated by MITI, MEITY, manufacturing. Sorry, forgot the full form of MITI. So in this particular initiative, Government of India is going to fund the procurement of about 10,000 GPUs, graphical processing units, which are the brain behind the training and execution of this AI models. Right. So they will fund the procurement. They will be procured and hosted and maintained and serviced by a few companies for which the tendering process is going on at this moment. And these companies are large data center companies in India. Now, there is one particular element, control element they have brought in, which says that the power usage effectiveness. So there is a particular metric called power usage effectiveness, which, or PUE, which has to be 1.35. Now, power usage effectiveness literally determines the emission standards or electricity consumption, etc. For this by these data centers, right? So at this moment, on an average, the power usage effectiveness of the data centers are on an average 1.5 PUE. The India AI mission has dictated that to be successful in this tendering process, if you have to take an order, I mean, take a contract from on this India AI mission, you have to bring it down to 1.35. So there are various mechanisms by which they have to bring it down. And these are some of the things that governments around the world are doing. I mean, this is an India specific initiative, and this is an excellent control initiative to bring down the power usage effectiveness for the data centers, so that the emissions are lower, the electricity consumptions are lower. Some of the other ways we see the impact of AI in sustainability are the use of various rare earth minerals or critical minerals from the environment. I mean, minerals which are used in creating, manufacturing transistors, manufacturing these GPUs or CPUs or memory chips or any kind of chips that are chips and boards which are used in the AI ecosystem. Right. So, and this is some of the minerals like lithium, cobalt, copper, heavily. There are rare earth minerals which are involved. Now, the way this harms the environment is because the chemical process that goes on behind the extraction of these minerals is quite intense, and these minerals, one, they are very. I mean, the extraction process is very manufacturing intensive and emission intensive as well, a lot of them. The other thing about this is the e-waste generation. I mean, this is also something that Sujit touched upon, is that there's a huge amount of, let's say, just take an example of lithium-ion batteries. I mean, all equipments that AI also uses will contain batteries, and heavily they are laden with lithium. Okay, and if you do not dispose of lithium in an environment-friendly way, this can cause a great harm and irreversible harm. So let's say, for instance, if your lithium batteries are disposed of in an uncontrolled manner on Earth, on soil, and it contaminates the soil, and it seeps into the water near the soil, and that water is used for drinking. Once lithium has contaminated that water, you cannot drink it anymore. Okay, so to reverse the effect, it's going to take probably hundreds of years. Right. So e-waste is another pitfall of AI. So basically, this is the elephant in the room, really. However, the good news, as we've seen in Biswajit's presentation, is that AI can do wonders. AI can do wonders in terms of generating productivity. AI can do wonders in making everything smarter and much more efficient. So let's say, for instance, the way electricity is distributed at this moment, the electricity are distributed through grids. So when AI is infused into the grid management and power distribution, it becomes much, much smarter. And even if we gain an efficiency of 10% or 5% even in terms of electricity saving due to AI based smart grid or smart power distribution, that's a huge saving. So if 2% or 5% electricity is saved because of smart grid implementation using AI, that's a huge saving. And the result, the fossil fuel emissions to that is saved due to the saving of that amount of energy is going to be quite substantial. Energy management optimization. So let's say, for instance, your office or your building, society building, right? So when we go on for AI-based energy management in facilities, say, for instance, it's infused in the procurement. Let's say, for instance, in your office building, there are 2,000 computers. Now, the difference between two different computer models or laptop models or servers, a minor difference of their emission standards is going to be huge. Now, AI can crunch a lot of data in this aspects as to what are the elements, energy elements, lighting elements, computing equipment elements, server equipments, etc., HVAC equipments, etc., etc. So there is a lot of data that are generated by sensors, etc. And AI can help in crunching that data and give us insights into what can we optimize. Let's say the lighting equipment can be uh, changed from one model to another to ensure 5% saving in emission from the lighting equipment, and thereby that saves a lot of energy, and thereby that saves a lot of emission. So AI can get into this number crunching, insights into what can be changed in your building planning, right? In terms of your computing equipment, in terms of your lighting equipment, HVAC equipment, or whatever equipment in your facility, large facility, even small society buildings, etc., can bring in a lot of optimization. Supply chain is laden with opportunities. Supply chain generates a lot of data. There is transportation, there is logistics, there is, I mean, from one point A to, I mean, from the point of raw material procurement to the user's hands, there is a lot of hops. And in those hops, there is a lot of data that is generated, and those data can be crunched by AI and can be the entire supply chain processes can be made efficient. Right. So I was looking for some of the examples of real examples of AI-based optimization in terms of energy, etc. And I found some good examples that UAE is currently working on, especially Abu Dhabi. And here are some of the examples. I'm not going detail into this. So there are optimizations that they are making in terms of oil production from the well. There are optimizations they're making in terms of creating geological models for creating various simulations and creating smart energy production. Then Smart Eye, which is an AI-enabled computer vision, it monitors industrial environments for emission levels, and it forecasts, predicts emission levels in various areas, industrial areas, and kind of forewarns them and controls them, precautionary alerts, etc., to make sure that those predicted high emission levels are controlled. Right. So these are some of the examples. One thing that Arun wanted me to touch upon is the changing face of talent in AI. Now, there are two facets of it. One is the domain knowledge of ESG. So let's say you are in the area of manufacturing. So there are certain techniques that manufacturing industry uses for ESG sustainability. So there are a lot of data points. There are a lot of touch points where which can be optimized for a better sustainability, better energy usage, and etc., better logistical or supply chain efficiency. So that's the domain side, and the second side is the data crunching, which is the application of the technology of AI. So I think this two sides have to marry, and there are a lot of new roles that are coming in. So in terms of technology roles as well as in ESG roles. So if you are an ESG specialist, you are working on becoming, I mean, starting a career in ESG, then one thing that you need to focus on is the data crunching side. So we say that, I mean, I'm from a technology background, and we say that, okay, for every technologist or every business domain expert, they need to have data crunching abilities, okay? Skills in crunching data in Excel, skills in crunching data using SQL, etc. And ESG is no different. You have to analyze a lot of data. So make sure that you are learning a lot of data crunching or maybe AI usage techniques, where you can point out from what data I can find what insights which can help me optimize a particular touch point in my supply chain, right? Or in my manufacturing process for that matter, or maybe a different model of a particular equipment which is going to give me a slightly 5% less emission. And I use this equipment, let's say a laptop, 2000 units in my facility, and 5% into 2000 of those units is going to be a significant difference in your emission levels from your facility. And that goes on in manufacturing plants, manufacturing machinery also. Right. So, so data crunching ability for ESG domain experts is very, very important. Learn all the common AI tools. ChatGPT and all are very useful. I mean, believe it or not, I mean, some folks I have seen trivialize them, but if you really can use them, if you know the wherewithals, I mean, if you can really make ChatGPT's or similar tools work, they are very, very powerful. All right, and it is applicable for ESG as well. If you know how to make it work, it can do wonders for you with your data, right? If your data and I mean structured data, unstructured data, whatever, right? And then there are technology roles which are an infusion with the ESG domain knowledge. So technology roles like AI sustainability analysts, so maybe data analysts which are with ESG domain knowledge, or data scientist with ESG domain knowledge, or sustainability strategist which are AI specialist with ESG domain knowledge. So it's an intersection. Domain experts need to understand data and crunch data, and technologists, AI technologists who are working in the ESG need to understand the domain knowledge, right? So these are some of the changes that are happening in the ESG, and this is how probably, I mean, based on if you are a technologist wanting to get into an ESG domain, or ESG expert wanting to also use technology, these are some of the things that you need to pick up. So with that, I rest my case. Arun, over to you.
Thank you, Manas. Well, it's just that people have a lot of myths that AI is going to make sure people are going to be unemployed. Actually, it's not. It's going to give you a new kind of employment as long as you know how to apply some of the concepts and you really know what your domain means. And then AI can help you. If you don't know the domain, even AI can't help you. Thanks, Manas. If you can just stop sharing.
Yeah.
Request that we keep to time because we are really, really behind time right now. I'd like to invite Dr. Nidhi Arora, Microsoft certified enterprise data analyst, comes from a very strong research background in the AI space and machine learning. She's worked under various tech domains, but also is a co-founder and director of Advik Tech, which builds state-of-the-art AI solutions. So these are people who are building solutions. And I now invite Dr. Nidhi to share her thoughts.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. Please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you, Arun sir, for this introduction, and I'm going to um, take you all to a different perspective. Actually, I also work in artificial intelligence solutions development, but at the same time, I'm also a researcher. So I'll give you a perspective of the research which I have done so far these years before we develop these AI solutions for our customers. And that is, of course, relevant to the sustainability in this AI age. So very quickly, we all know what does sustainability mean to us. It refers to the principle of meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations, so that the future generation needs can also be met. The world is changing so fast, and we have to pick the pace along with that. And that's why AI has come into the picture. So when we talk about sustainability, we always talk about the various dimensions which it captures, the environmental dimension, the social dimension, the economic dimension, right? And at the intersection of all these three dimensions, the social, environmental, economic, and economic dimension also, right? So, why do we actually, talk about sustainability? Because we want to achieve sustainability. Uh, is this bar hiding my screen? Okay, okay, okay. So, achieving sustainability will enable all of us to sustain in future and by continuing to support the life also. So, here are some questions which will drive the sustainability from the viewpoint of industry. How can we make industrial production more flexible, efficient, and competitive? You heard two experts before me, they talked about all the applications which AI help us build, and at the same time, we are making ourselves more responsible so that we can also look at the sustainable side of the development. um, how can we also grow cities in such a way which can provide us high quality of life? We talk about air quality ratio also, so that the cities which we are becoming, we are making smarter, can be, sustainable at the same time. If I talk about healthcare domain, how can we ensure that healthcare is both excellent and affordable also? How can we create an economy which not only provide us all the resources but also help us to survive at a better level? If we talk about sustainability from industry viewpoint, people always talk about all these dimensions: the social approach, the sustainable approach, right? Environmental approach, economic sustainability. But today, from research viewpoint in the AI age, I'm going to talk about the sustainable approach along with the resilient approach, right? I would like to discuss how digital transformation will help us to get all these things done, at the same time keeping ourselves, you know, very focused about sustainability in the AI age. So, first, I will try to bring about the sustainability issues which we are again aware of, but very quickly going through these slides. First is the climate change. If we look at all the statistics, Google the statistics, you will find out that the temperature is increasing, and the average temperature every year is increasing every day, right? Each month we are experiencing more heat around us. Even the second one is demographic change, which when we talk about the worldwide life expectancy, that is increasing. The population is also increasing. That means more resources are being consumed, right? Not only the machines are consuming resources, even human beings are also consuming a lot of resources. The third one is again urbanization, which we keep talking about, that most of the people have started to move to mega cities. Their life standards have increased. Their expectations from the lifestyle has increased. Everybody wants uh, a smart watch. Everybody wants a smart refrigerator. Smart ovens are there. So things are becoming smarter. At which cost? At the cost of sustainability. Next is globalization, where we talk about global trade. The volume over few years have doubled, tripled. The boundaries of the world have diluted to make all the economies grow, but at the same time we have to keep in mind that the transportation of knowledge, the transportation of data in building all these AI systems, these are all eating up a lot of heat at the same time. So this decade is actually considered to be the decade of digitalization and sustainability. Now we are going to bring this together. This is what I would like to reflect upon, and I'm focusing on two main questions here. Um, Presenting to you then the heuristics which may help us find solutions to these questions. The first question is, how can we use the powerful technologies like AI to change our economies and societies both hand in hand towards sustainability? That is something which we have to keep in mind at the same time. And the second one is the digitalization as a driver of fundamental and deep change in our societies is creating a deep context. Yes. So we all agree to the fact that we are moving towards AI age. Industries have opened up their eyes. They also want smart systems. Households also want smart systems, but at which cost? So we have to, take both the aspects together, the sustainability also and a better life also. In my view, digitalization is not just a sector, digitalization is everywhere. So if you look into the economy, you look into our societies, you reflect upon the democracy. So everywhere it is digitalization and artificial intelligence is actually driving, transformation processes for this change which we are expecting around our life. So now I'm coming to the heuristics I talked about. If we want to answer the two questions which I showed in the last slide, uh, these are the three dynamics. The first dynamic is the digitalization of sustainability. So because I said at the beginning that we have to take both the things together hand in hand, the digitalization, specifically AI and sustainability. But when we talk about the first dynamic, these two are not well interlinked. So when we talk about digital technologies to make sustainability happen, we also have to talk about compliances. We also have to talk about emissions. We also have to talk about the concentration of heat and power all around us. The second one is the sustainable digitized society. So while we were talking about the first dynamic, we didn't realize that the second dynamic has arrived over a period of time. I will talk about these three dynamics in detail in the next slides. And the third dynamic is the future of Homo sapiens, which is still, approaching us, and we have to keep ourselves ready for that. So I'll start with the first dynamic. The first dynamic here, where we are asking how we can bring together the sustainability challenges which we define. Um, Moving forward, the 2030 agenda of the you know sustainable world as of whole. The most important starting point I would say here is that there is no automatism at all, right? All the digital technologies might help us to solve our sustainability challenges. These technologies already started 20 years ago, but still you know, we are very resource intensive, we are very energy intensive, and all these technologies are showing climate destructive, growth patterns. So we need to bring these trends together to solve the sustainability challenges we are confronted with. So uh, there are two important aspects of it. First is very important, the privacy issues. We also have been building AI solutions for our clients, but at the same time when the data is shared to us, there are privacy concerns. Uh, Experts talk about usage of chat gpt, but how much information chat gpt has utilized to train itself, nobody knows, right? So there are privacy concerns there also. And then if we look at the technologies which are now available and emerging, the potential to solve such kind of issues with the technology is bigger than those with the emerging technologies. So there is a second observation, that when we try to think about bringing digitalization and sustainability challenges together, there are the risks of limited knowledge also. So when we talk to clients, when government officials even agree to apply AI systems to their workflows, the important limitation here is the knowledge. So what is important is to have knowledge not only about the AI technologies which can bring you know the benefits to their system, but at the same time, the cost which they have to pay by implementing AI technologies in their systems. So the second dynamic, when we move to the second one, it is actually about deep changes in our societies driven by these kind of technologies like AI and machine learning. These are not only instruments to solve any kind of problems, these are actually the drivers of fundamental change. And we always argue that the change which we will see, there will be evolutionary change. It will be a long-term change. It will have a, deep shift in the way we have been operating in the industries also, comparable to the industrial revolution, comparable to the Neolithic revolution. There would be a big shift in the human civilization also, and this is what we have in front of us right now. So somewhere we are dwelling into the second dynamic where we are talking about the sustainable digitized society. So we want both the things together at the same time, and I would say up to some extent we have been able to link these two together, which in the previous dimension, in the previous dynamic, we were not able to get through it, right? So I'm driving you very rapidly through some five important characteristics which we find which will make this digital societies more better in coming years. First is interconnectedness. Um, all of us know that IoT is around, and AI and IoT play a very good role hand in hand, right? So second one is cognition. Third is autonomous system virtuality and knowledge explosion. Let me quickly take all these five characteristics. So when we talk about interconnectedness is something about connecting everything around the globe with any other thing. People connect with each other. That is interconnectedness. Uh, we are able to connect sitting here on Earth to Mars, right? That is interconnectedness. So, across the boundary of planets, also interconnectedness is possible. Technical systems can be connected, which is very obvious in this digital era. In fact, any device can be connected to any other device. So, this interconnectedness has brought a new light in the age of AI. So this is already changing the way the industries and the societies, are operating. The second very important characteristic of this AI age is cognition. Cognition is basically, providing those characteristics of these to these machines, which earlier were thought to be the characteristics for humans only, right? We call it cognitive skills, right? So these are the fundamental characteristics for humans, which are now being, you know, slowly transformed to machines. Machines have started, showing a level of intelligence. They can even learn, over a period of time. So earlier we were making physical machines which, had the tendency to move from one location to the other location. But now we have, you know, built, we are building machines which have intelligence also. So the learning machines are, seen in this era. Uh, I'll show you some examples which I think you will be able to relate. We are able to build systems which not only recognize people through their faces, which are face recognition systems. We have built machines, you can call those robots, which have intelligence not only to play chess but also other games like Go and other basic board games. We have object detection techniques. These are all applications of AI. I'll give you a very interesting example. On my right, there is a book published by Springer, and the author, if you notice, this is a beta writer. This is actually a book which is compiled by a machine. So this is a machine generated book, which is uh, which actually presents the summary of current research. So we are at this age where the machines have started showing all the characteristics which earlier were, connected to human brain only. This is a quote which I would
One,
like to present in front of all of you. That was put forward by Alan Turing, which is supposed to be the father of AI research. In 1951, he said if a machine can think, it might think more intelligently than we do right now. And then where would we at that time in future? So this landscape which I'm showing, this is called a landscape of human competences. So you can see a lot of characteristics written over here, which were usually, related to human brain, human cognition, but now these are all, witnessed to be seen in machines. At which cost? At the cost of sustainability, at the cost of power, at the cost of training. Autonomous systems is the third characteristics, where we see a lot of, automatic systems which do not need any human intervention. You have seen autonomous cars also. But here, what is important consideration is, we have to find out which decisions should be reserved for humans only. And then virtuality. So this virtuality is actually a new term for reality. And that's how the virtual reality term has come. And that's how the virtual reality stream, a complete area of AI has come, where you can, create and organize and drive and control devices virtually. You can be in a new world, which is not a 3D world, but a 4D world. And base for all these four characteristics is knowledge explosion, where there is a lot of knowledge which is flowing from one end to the other, making systems possible, making systems smarter, making cities smarter, making robots smarter. So this is something which is very, very important. At the same time, we have to see that this knowledge should be, used for producing welfare for the society, not for destroying the planet otherwise. The last dynamic, which is a very important third dynamic, is about the future of humans themselves. I've talked about two dynamics, how we are bringing sustainability and AI together, but the third dynamic is about the future of humans. All those who are listening to me, they might have heard about anthropocene. So this is something where we are talking about driving new technical instruments to our social processes. So we have to be very careful at the time of driving this change into our society. So, as a responsible person, there's an area of AI which is called responsible AI. So we have to not only develop AI systems to make our society smarter, our economy smarter, but we also have to think about the responsibility which we have on our shoulders, and developing additional skills which AI systems lack today, that is social skills and soft skills. So I'm not only mentioning the risk, I'm also thinking about, a humanism in the age of digital revolution. And and I have put forward some of the points in front of you so that the youngsters can, start thinking in that direction, that we want a stable future, we want a smarter future, we want AI systems to be utilized at the most. We want AI everywhere. We can't, wake up in the morning without looking at our smart, phone. So we have started becoming the slave to not only the technology but to AI also. So in conclusion, you can feel and see that our setting and thinking of 2030, that is the goal of making the world smart. The development goal is not only appropriate to manage these kinds of challenges, but we have to bear the responsibility of, sustainability at the same time, and the paradigm change which this AI is bringing to us. So we have to use AI as a companion, humans, making it more human centric. That's it.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Suresh. I guess we have seen a lot of problems and opportunities that have come in. One is you can seek employment to find these solutions. The other is people who are investing money in it and think there are serious potential and opportunities for every student. I remember one of the senior people abroad when I met at some point in time said, if higher education is meant for placement, then I wonder who's going to build our country and organizations. So I think perspectives in the higher education space especially has to change from people seeking employment to people actually becoming entrepreneurs and who have the ability to solve problems. That's the space where Suresh comes from. He leads a deep tech idea stage venture fund. They invest into universities, especially students, bright students and faculty, and also bring in problems that corporate and industry do that students can sit and solve and translate their capstone projects into serious ventures that they can go forward. So they put money where they talk. So we thought it'll be useful to identify and understand what a VC's perspective is, a venture cap's perspective is. And Suresh very clearly says, I don't mentor, but I guide students towards building successful careers. Suresh, over to you.
Thanks, Arun. Yatin, you may want to display the slide that I had. Just one slide.
Okay. Give me a sec. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Arun, and amazing setup discussion with my fellow panelists. And what's very, very clear is there is an amazing opportunity and there is a need for us to look at sustainability. That is extremely well established by all the fellow panelists. I want to bring in a perspective of why is that even VCs are looking into this space, right? So, other than the social good, having the having the right responsibility as a citizen or a human being, what is the economic value out of the whole sustainability space is what I want to cover over next 8-10 minutes, right? So, uh, there are 4 dimensions that I want to touch upon in my talk. First thing, we know that sustainability and climate tech are essential, right? It's our responsibility. There is a better way. And in fact, I always say this, right? This is probably, for those who are interested, this is the last opportunity for us to go and make a difference, right? So that's true. But reality is today no business can ignore sustainability, right? As much as we say it's a responsibility. From the business perspective, there is no way in which they can ignore sustainability. It can be because of regulations. There are regulations which forces you to be net carbon neutral. There are regulations that will ensure that you source sustainability. There are regulations that says that you need to reduce your wastage, reduce your carbon footprint, etc., right? So regulations are forcing to be in the business. At the same time, sustainability is adding a lot of efficiency into the business, right? So when you start sourcing sustainability or you stop wasting things, then you are basically inducing efficiency into your business. So sustainability is forcing people to be more efficient, and I will give you some examples a bit later. And third one, sustainability is also driven by customer push. Today, you can't sell anything premium anywhere in the world, any premium product, any luxury product, without talking about sustainability. For example, if you take coffee, I run a coffee business called Bonhomia. If we don't say that we are sourcing sustainably, we are moving away from single-use plastic, etc. And if you don't say that the farmers from whom we are sourcing, they are actually using better methods to produce their coffee, which make sure that there is not use of too much of water or chemicals. Unless we say that as a premium coffee brand, we can't even sell it. So there is a lot of consumer push, right? So because of which businesses can't ignore, there is an opportunity for startups to even make money. That's the first point that I want to make. And later on, I will go and talk about some of the startups that are very interesting for us. Second one, VCs or investors love disruption, right? So we love disruption. We love changing the world order, right? The reason why we love Ola, for example, is that it just changed the way we people travel. We loved Amazon or Flipkart because they just changed the way people shop. We love disruptions. As VCs and investors, we love disruptions. And sustainability and AI always gives us an opportunity to do that. I don't know how many of you are following what's happening in the AI world in last 2 3 days. There is a new Chinese company which has released a AI engine called DeepSeek, which just uses $6 million to train the whole staff, right? Which is saying have given 95% efficiency to the overall AI world, right? Is what this company is claiming. A small, like, say, company which just invested less than $6 million to build the whole engine, right? Where we know that OpenAI was trying to raise $1 trillion to build their engine, right? So why this happened? DeepSeek understood the biggest problem with the AI is what the first speaker spoke about, right? There is so much of energy invested in training of the model, billions of dollars spent on this. Is there a way we can optimize it, right? Which makes the whole AI not just sustainable from the business perspective, but AI sustainable from the environment perspective. So DeepSeek is not only that this is the most popular company in just 2 days, but it has pulled down the valuation of all the companies like all the big AI companies, including Google, OpenAI, etc., etc. Their valuation is down by 10% in just 2 days, right? So that's a disruption that we are talking about. Of course, we know what's happening with the EV world and how the traditional auto players are struggling to survive now, right? Both because of EV and sustainability or the circular economy, right? So because I remember one sports said they want to be a taxi company rather than a car company, right? That's the way the world is moving over, right? So businesses can't survive without their sustainability. Sustainability is good. And third one, sustainability forces disruption in the world. And last one, but not the very, very important one, is students get it much better than most of us. In fact, I would go ahead and say I don't know how many of the audience here are watching it in from Delhi. I mean, as a Bangalorean, I was pleasantly surprised around 4 years back when I realized that students are the youngsters in Delhi understand sustainability, understand climate related issues much better than those who are in Bangalore, right? So while Bangalore can be a hotbed of technology, etc., but what I saw was the awareness levels in Delhi was much better. That's because you guys are facing it in every winter, right? Every for 3 months you struggle to find a good air to breathe, right? There is a problem, so you understand it much better, and extra youngsters understand it much better, more so because there's, I mean, curriculum today, the schools today, colleges today, everyone talks about Swachh Bharat. I mean, it better. Work. You need to know chemistry, you need to know physics, you need to know mechanical, you need to know electronics because of the sensors, and you need to know AI. And whenever there is a innovation, the universities do much better, much better. That's where students are able to create much better solutions. And these are the things that I want to bring it from the VC perspective. So, of course, I want to tell you some of the challenges in terms of building it out and plugin. We are a VC fund, we are a venture studio and a foundation. As foundation, we work with 40 plus universities with the clear aim of making bright youngsters wanting to become entrepreneurs and discover right problem statements. What we do, we help you discover an idea, we help you build a POC, and we help you get attraction with our investment, our connects, and know-how, and the venture studio that we have built, right? So this is what we do. But what's important for into what is that we look into whenever a startup comes in, right? That's the important aspect that we want to cover, because the way we are thinking is pretty much the way every VC thinks. We prefer innovators who come to us with a small niche problem, right, which can scale with a core IP. I just spoke about DeepSeek. All the DeepSeek did was they just went and re-looked into the architecture of the foundation models, and then they just fine-tuned some of the which has given so much of leverage for them. So what we prefer is youngsters or whoever it is picking up a very, very niche problem which can scale with core IP. Right, I'll give you an example of some of the company. We have a company called Bay. All that Bay does is they just try to make people share books with each other, right? So if you are a reader, if you are an avid reader, how will you discover the book, right? So today, I mean, earlier you used to go to do have a library chain, but you used to go to libraries, etc. Where what will you do if you don't have a library? Can you discover someone else who has the same book and ask him to lend it to you, right? So that's what they are doing, right? They are a example of circular economy. What they have also built is a platform which we are exploring if we can leverage it for exchanging toys, kids' toys, or the sports goods, or camera equipment, etc. Right? It's a circular economy, right? There are whole lot of opportunities and students who are building something around circular economy. In fact, the I mean, Ananya will come and speak to you after 2, 3 speakers. I don't want to steal the thunder from her. An amazing example of what students can do in the sustainability space, right? So we'll listen to her later. Third one, we have a company called Agnicool, who are trying to bring in sustainability to the space mission, right? All of us know the great example of SpaceX launching the rocket vehicle and reusing the rocket vehicle to relaunch. And one of our startups, which is by a young student, is trying to do that for the low-range missile or even the drones. How can we increase the efficiency or the battery lives of the drones is what they are working on. There is a very interesting company called Go Local who are saying that I will bring the production closer to consumers. I'll bring the production, for example, atta making or shampoo making or even coffee decoction making. I will bring the production closer to consumers through the portable self-operated appliances so that there is a reduced carbon footprint and there is better. There's one more company. There are a lot of communities being built. In fact, that's an opportunity for some of you to work together. Can we build a community or can we integrate all the communities in the digital platform so that there is a better control, advice, monitoring, or help given to people who are working on the sustainability space, right? So interesting one before I stop, right? So we recently started working with an organization called IFCA, right, which is Indian Food and Culinary Association, who work with global nations. With them, there are a lot of projects that are launched in terms of food and sustainability. How can you reduce the wastage of food in five-star hotel chains? How can you reduce the operating expenses of a kitchen running in a five-star chain? How can you make sure that you use the spices that are produced sustainability? Right? A lot of very interesting projects. And especially from India, we can be proud of the fact that our practices, methodologies, our traditional wisdom continue what the industrial revolution gave it to us. So there are a lot of very interesting discussions, startups that are happening in this space. The challenge that we see, I'll come back, is people's ability to pick up the right problem, right? Most of them, they don't pick up the right problem. And when it comes to sustainability, the most important thing is understanding the market dynamics, right? One is to build a amazing product that converts all the carbon coming out of market for the ink is what we need to understand. So what is missing there in this space, while there are a lot of problems to be solved, is the scale and understanding of the market opportunities. So my belief is any innovator, unless you work with someone from the industry who understands the economics of the industry, where the money is flowing, what are the ways in which you can really position your innovation so that industries have the motivation to buy your product, right? Unless you bring in the domain knowledge in terms of the industry dynamics, it's not going to scale. That's our biggest challenge, which means we invite all the people who are domain experts here who understands the dimensions of different industries, whether it's real estate or automobile or manufacturing, to come join us and help some of the bright engineers and the startups that we have to scale and solve the real problems, right? So, finally, a small no, leverage AI. Whenever you are building a solution, if you want to come and raise money from us or from augment data sets, build a core IP. And I can assure you that there is a lot of money chasing sustainability. And there are a lot of businesses that require sustainability. And we'll be able to create bunch of unicorns if we can just work together. Thanks a ton.
Thanks, Suresh. I think it's an opportunity to explore. Forget about trying to find a job, find a solution, make sure you have the right people to help you see that the solution is viable and you're in business. So move away from getting employment to. The next speaker is Royce. Sorry, I misspelled the name. Royce brings over 2 decades of experience in telecom and media industry to his work. He is the tech manager at Google, very passionate about ethical practices. He also does a lot of coaching for early career professionals. And today he's here to share his thoughts and perspectives on the emerging applications that address sustainability through AI. Joy?
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Thanks to everyone who's joined today and also my fellow panelists. I think a lot of insight, a lot of learning for all of us. And I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer by heart. And when I look at AI, which I use on a regular basis, I think about what the potential of this is for the future. Some of us say the future is here. We are already there now. Things is happening as we speak. But an engineer typically stretches the imagination beyond the boundaries of what has been done or what is possible in the near future, right? And so if you look at what emerging applications are for AI, what would some of them be? And we're going to look at 3 such emerging applications in AI when it comes to sustainability. So the first one is biodiversity conservation. Now, when we talk about biodiversity, the first thing that comes to mind is animal protection. Now, when you look at animal protection as a topic, what do you really think of? All right. You look at the pictures here. These are typically some of the things that you'll think of. People talking about animal rights and people holding up posters, or you might see animal shelters and people taking care of them. When we talk about biodiversity and how AI can help, is there a way really in which AI can help protect endangered species and ecosystems in the face of habitat loss and climate change? Because climate change is something we are all, very well aware of. We are, in fact, at times reeling under the effects of that, even here in India and all countries around the world. How can AI really do something, if at all, in order to protect endangered species? And I want to go back to a real exhibit that we have of the Yellowstone National Park. Not that it had something to do with AI, but there's a point to be learned from the story of Yellowstone National Park. You see, this is a national park in Wyoming, in the United States, that was established in 1872. And today, it's home to hundreds of animal species, bears, wolves, bison, elk, antelope, lots of different species of trees, lots of birds, lots of water life that's there. But it was not like this until about 1995. Because what had happened over a period of time was that there was a lot of poaching going on, because of which predators decreased in number a lot. And over a period of a number of decades, since 1872, the wildlife just kept shrinking in this national park, right? This is the first national park, probably the biggest in the United States, the Yellowstone National Park. In fact, over a period of time, what ended up happening is over these thousands of acres of land, there were just a lot of deer. That was the main animal that was species that was there in this national park, right? And so there were these deer that were growing in number, but it was barren. It was nothing like what this picture shows. It was completely barren. In fact, the deer had just grazed away most of the park. And people were thinking about what to do when some scientists came up with an idea, and they said, let's send some wolves into the park. And there was a lot of debate about it at the time. This was the early 1990s. But the scientists won over. They said, okay, we'll send a small number. They sent 20 wolves into the park. What happened soon was, because the wolves came in, they have a lot of food, right? They started chasing deer. And deer gradually started moving away from these types of valley sides and into the hills, into the places where they could not easily be caught. When this happened, over a period of time, green cover started appearing. Green cover, which was missing for a very long time. Okay. Now, green cover started appearing and trees and shrubs started growing. As these trees and shrubs started growing, they started stabilizing the banks of the river. Because what was happening until then was, because there were no roots to stabilize the banks of the river would just collapse and kind of fall in. And so the water just kept meandering in different directions. There were no real lakes, you see. As these trees grew up, stabilized riverbanks and lakes started forming and coming back into place. As these trees grew up, birds started coming in. And as these wolves started killing deer, there were falcons, eagles, other animals that feed on this carrion that started coming in. And a lot more, beavers that came in, foxes, came in to also catch rabbits and other wildlife. They just started thriving. In other words, what these wolves did is they changed the shape of rivers. Now, this took a long time. This took a very long time. It took about 20 years for the effects of this to be seen. Now, you say, can AI do something like this? You see, when you talk about AI, it's all about data, right? And the data sets of interest that AI can use are data sets that are available to track such gaps and such progress in a much faster pace. Because you're talking here about image and sound recognition. You're talking here about detecting food chain activity. You're trying to see, because what happened here was wolves were injected at the top of the food chain and the tumble effects were seen down the food chain, right? If you're using something like AI, you're looking at what food chain activity is happening, what poaching activity is happening, and what effect that has on land. What ecosystem health changes are happening, like erosion, green cover change, and such things, right? And so where AI can really help is, it can help identify what species actually exist, even in remote areas, in areas that are understudied, and help with these kind of management interventions. Make some management interventions and see the changes of that, how that's progressing, not really over a number of years, because you can see this progress even on a weekly basis if it's monitored through real-time data, right? And then use that to further target conservation actions, introducing species where it makes sense, where there might be some temporary, so to say, loss of life, but where there is a larger growth in terms of biodiversity. And that's a problem, a future problem. It's not happening today, but it's an emerging challenge that AI can be set to solve. Let's look at two more. We're going to look at eco-friendly cities. Now, when I say the word city, what is it that comes to mind? Probably something like this picture that you're seeing here, right? You're thinking of buildings, you're thinking of skyscrapers, and maybe you have an apartment somewhere on the 30th floor, and you're having a view like this in the morning. We talk about a modern city, that's probably what comes to mind, right? But we pay less attention to designing of such cities with minimum environmental impact. Because you think about the amount of concrete itself that's there in this picture, that's like it's a big harm to the society, right? You again think of, okay, you have these mass density structures in place. What about other factors like transportation? How is energy being used? How is waste being managed? Can the word city actually evoke a picture like this in mind? Now, part of this is inspired by the gardens that, if you've been to Singapore, you see these tower gardens that look something like this. I think it's there in the UAE as well. But when you think about cities, are we able to picture something that does not necessarily look structured in terms of squares and rectangles and straight roads and highways in that sense, but what actually helps for the cause of sustainability? You see, like I was saying, AI is first about data. The more AI knows, and we call that model training, we heard about that before. The more models know, the more they are helpful. You see? And so when we talk about building sustainable cities, the first thing is to make sure that models are trained with data sets of interest that are traffic patterns, energy consumption, population density, and there are many other factors on which these models can be trained, right? But these become inputs to AI models with growing population, with growing number of vehicles on the road, with growing need for infrastructural capabilities such as living spaces, offices, and the need to move fast and efficiently. And this can then be used for urban planning. Because when we talk about city planning, if you look at the most efficient it has kind of been, except in places like Singapore and Japan, we have pretty much been stuck in the same place for the last 20 to 30 years. We've kind of reached that pinnacle where we have this magic thing called concrete, and it's able to build these huge structures for us. We have this magic thing called tar. It's able to build massive roads for us, and life just goes on, right? But have we ever thought about how we can optimize if we're going to build from scratch, how are we going to optimize this for city layouts? How are we going to improve public transportation? Which routes actually make sense? How are we going to have buildings that are actually green buildings? These types of buildings, this picture that you see here is not really far from reality. Today, you see it in places that are showpieces, but these are learnings that can be actually be implemented at scale to literally have a green cover on a building, and not necessarily use concrete, but use structural buildings that allow for airflow and ventilation, and at the same time a green cover all in one, and in a way that promotes sustainability. I have about a minute left, and so I'll quickly talk about sustainable supply chains. Now, you're talking about environmental impact of products through the life cycle as it goes through the supply chain, right from raw material through manufacturing and distribution, right? When you talk about AI and how that can help, again, the more it knows, the more it is helpful. Okay. So the question to ask is, what are the input and output metrics for the entire supply chain? And are we tracking each of those? Or are we only looking at, and someone was mentioning this before, right? We're looking at how coffee is being produced, and the farmers are doing it in very sustainable practices, but businesses are not there to sell it in a packaging that is sustainable, right? How are we looking at that really in the entire supply chain? When you're building this sustainable packaging, are you actually harming the environment? Because your supply chain has bottlenecks that are emitting more carbon, or it's not being done as efficiently as it should. Each input output stage of a supply chain has to be tracked. Metrics have to be captured, right? This will allow us to identify what environmental hotspots are there and how logistics can be optimized for reducing emissions. And it can also give us data on what makes sense in terms of promoting ethical sourcing. How can we source in a way that is sustainable, not just from the first point of sourcing raw materials, but right all the way through processing it through the end product and through the distribution as well. And so those are three quick applications, emerging applications on sustainability with AI. And with that, I'll thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Royce. And thank you for super management of time of 10 minutes. The best. I'd like to now invite Chinmay. Chinmay leads Astricos AI. This is another important one where we are looking at made in India, and they really build smart infrastructure. And that's very, very crucial for people to look at who are looking at building new cities and how they could co-op and they could work in these areas to find solutions around it. Chinmay, over to you.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for having me here. And I'll straight away jump to the topic and put my slide deck on and try to meet up the time goal set by Royce. Okay. Well, so my topic for the day is AI-driven unified urban operations. So far we spoke a lot about how the AI itself is consuming a lot of energy and making a lot of sustainability impact negatively. So some of the cases, the development is inevitable, but development comes with a cost, and major cost of the development has been impact on the climate, impact on the sustainability of the environment. So, say similarly, the next one to 2 decades is all about, especially for the countries like India, is infrastructure decade. A lot of investments in infrastructure happening. So a lot of smart cities, smart spaces, and smart infrastructures are coming up, or rather, infrastructure is coming up, and we have to make them smart. So, what's smart actually? Smart is the one which is sustainable, in fact. So, my topic is going to be about AI driven unified urban operations, which is ICT top up and with the clear flavor of machine learning and AI on top of infrastructure management. So hope my slide deck is visible to all of you. A little bit of an introduction about what we are doing. In fact, I represent Astricos. Astricos is in making the infrastructure smart. When I say infrastructure, it could be as small as a building to the city, data centers, airports, and industry 4.0 and 5.0 paradigms altogether. So moving ahead, the challenges in the infrastructure management, number one is the blind spot, like, whose problem it is, that is the issue, and where does the problem exist. And then comes the collaboration. When I say about, there are, when we take an example of urban infrastructure, there are multiple agencies which are involved, and each of the agency will say that, okay, I did not know about this problem existed majorly. So, in simple, if I have to tell you about the simplest problem is the each of us face the road being dug by the telecom companies, and few months the municipal corporation doesn't put them on again, and when they do so, when they repair it, immediately next day BWSSB in Bangalore especially coming and digging it, and again the saga continues. So the collaboration between them has been the issue, right? So then comes the unassigned ownership, and unassigned ownership is about maintainability. So who has to maintain the infrastructure? So if the infrastructure is not maintained, then definitely it is going to, impact a lot, not only in terms of cost, but also the quality of the infrastructure deteriorates, and you have to keep on constructing, and where it exactly impacts. It impacts again and again in terms of the environment. Similarly, the sustainability impacts, which is directly the one of the major problem is building coolings and data center coolings. Data centers have got the status of infrastructure in a couple of years ago's budget in by government of India, which has announced. Majorly, the sustainability impact is you cool the building inside and you emit the temperature and humidity load that is called CO2 equivalent on the atmosphere. So that's been, in case of the normal buildings, it has been 4% year over year T and H load, temperature and humidity load. In case of data centers, they are actually loading 9% against the common buildings 4%. Similarly, energy conservation complexities, right, and also meeting this compliance standards. So energy conservation, yes, more we consume the energy means more we use the equipments, more temperature impact or the dissipation of the heat, and which actually leads into the more and more energy conservation, which again further leads to GHG impact, greenhouse gases impact. That's ultimately the CO2 equivalent, not necessarily directly CO2, but CO2 equivalent. So why this is critical right now? Why this is critical right now? Because a lot of infrastructure development is happening. The future is smart, and the infrastructure which have been laid in global spaces, such as even developed countries, the infrastructure which was laid few decades ago is actually aging, and there is a rapid urbanization going on. Cities are actually, the more and more urban areas are being created, and then that impacts, as well as the climate change, where we need to optimize the energy usage. And what we have to do is, there is a lot of data overload. We are all talking in this particular session about AI driven, or AI models, which actually, the raw material for that is the data, and there is a huge amount of data which is actually overloaded, right? So everywhere we save the data, and then we operate on that using our AI models, which is a big thing. So that's the reason right now it is critical to look into this aspect. So now let us look at how the unified urban operations platforms work. We have all the subsystems, which could be even water, power, environmental monitoring, safety, security, and all these systems, which actually are the low side instrumentation network. So which actually needs to be connected using the layer of communicability that is called IT/OT and IoT convergence, which in fact creates a central control and empowerment for the field operations, as well as collaboration across the multiple stakeholders, as I said about the multi-agency collaboration, and gives the situational awareness which is intuitive in nature. And then it gives a key performance indicators, because all of these can be measured only if we have key performance indicators against respective key responsibility areas. And then the decision support, this is where AI and ML can innovate all these areas. And then also using the help of the AI ML, we can maintain the availabilities or the reliability of the infrastructural elements. So in simple, traditionally what has been existing was each of the subsystems in the urban areas, that could be water, power, waste management, and all these things, on top of which there are respective solutions, which can be applications, on top of which there is an infrastructure operational platform, which was actually just automating the processes. But however, there is a necessity of applying intelligence that is possible only with machine learning and artificial intelligence. So in simple, right now I'm going to explain you what actually Astricos platform has been doing, right? So just a little bit of application right now, application I would want to call out. So we have the infrastructural systems which are actually acting like a data sources. The data extraction happens by using multiple technological protocols, such as it could be OT protocol or IoT or IT protocols, and then put them into the machine learning techniques or the built-in algorithms, which could be supervised, unsupervised, or reinforcement, all in all. And on top of which, derive the recommendations advisories from the artificial intelligence, which is can also be visualized on the digital twins, which are the new generation things. And over and above that, what good the information or the analytic or the advisory would do without taking action. Hence there is action layer on top of it for the proactive optimization of device controls, or optimization of proactive workflows, as well as predictive maintenance and all such kind of things, which can help to save a lot of resources when it comes to water contamination monitoring, or when it comes to energy conservation, or when it comes to the monitoring of the environmental goals. So in simple, this is one of the use case which shows there is a city digital twin, which is drilled down to building digital twin, and you, as using the AI, you get the advisory which will in fact pinpoint exact problem area, and then the action could be straight away induced from then and there itself, along with the data evidencing. So this actually changes the entire reactive measure of operations into the proactive before the catastrophe that could occur. Example, sensible AI. I think one of our fellow panelists spoke about not minimize the use of the data, or minimize the use of again and again training the data, right? So that is where the sensible AI concept comes into the picture, where the AI intelligence, which actually creates the plot first of all, and then keeps on warning the respective with the minimal use of the data. And if the warning, during the warning period, if the administrator do not take the action, then it will define a zone of catastrophe where the respective things may fail, or respective event may occur, or the equipment or asset may fail. From there, it will straight away override into the system, and then create the emergency zone, where it automatically overrides and creates the respective workflow or a work order or any such kind of action item, which is how the system works in order to be preventive to the futuristic actions. So some of the cases I would want to show you out here, you see out here, these are the real-time use cases which we have implemented in some one or the other cases, where one is about environmental monitoring, right? So that there is some construction which is happening, right, where there is a violation of the guideline, if you see out here, and immediately environmental sensor has highlighted about the PM 2.5 shooting up, and then the respective camera which actually validates that particular fact that there is a guidelines violation, and then the nearby camera which is showing that pushing of a message of the warning or the awareness messages to the respective citizens on the variable messaging display. And also SOP can be created to pollution control board or respective authorities to inspect this place and take the necessary action. So that's about this case. And second one is about the water network out here. If there is a water treatment plant issue related to water quality or any such kind of issue, that is when the event is triggered. From there, the impact area is identified out here and the impact area is corrected. So with the help of the AI, where it shows that where is the issue, what are the parametric anomalies. So before the issues that could occur, you can create a workflow to mitigate that. Similarly, these are other few use cases which are even being used in some of the the Indian smart cities right now, as well as latest has been Uttar Pradesh 112, where they are catering to the emergency response so that it can also reduce the catastrophic events. And the building management aspect is one of the case where the HVAC, as I said, the building load, actually the building cooling is adding the load into the atmosphere. Majorly, it's because of the anomalies that could occur in your HVAC systems or any such kind of systems, where the respective issues that could occur, in a minor way, which can extrapolate in the futuristic time frame, and then it can create more and more impact. So where the system is capable of giving the the lead scores like green building scores, and all of them as per the IGBC or WGBC standards, as well as the KPIs indicators. So here, what you are seeing is one such kind of a case. There is an anomaly in the HVAC, which is actually impacting more and more in terms of heat dissipation, which also leads to the additional energy consumption. However, that if there is a preventive or the predictive maintenance mechanisms are induced, then these kind of issues could be avoided. So same way, we are using AI chatbots to figure out the issues in a proactive manner and then create the workflow around them, right? So where it says about, you can just search about last month's CO2 violations or last month's temperature anomalies on the floor. You can just straight away say that, and then you will get the respective reports on that, and also you can create the workflow based on that. The advisory will be given by the system. So this is a little bit of overview on what are the real-time use cases that could be. That's my time, and thank you for having me here again, and thanks for the opportunity. Any questions, I'm open.
Thank you, Chinmay. I'd now like to invite the last but not the least speaker. She is an entrepreneur herself and who has been building an enterprise around it. A simple solution that has a huge impact. Ananya, who believes in turning her dreams into reality, and also a very successful woman entrepreneur. So I think it's important to get her perspective. Her work is being recognized worldwide, both in India as well as abroad. And it's also made her believe that ideas, when pursued with determination, can also shape a future. So Ananya, the floor is yours.
So I have a request. I might spill over the time, so I want you to please probably hint me maybe a minute or two before, so I try and speed up what I speak because I speak too much. I'm sharing my
Most
screen.
welcome.
I hope my screen's visible.
Yeah, visible. Go ahead.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Actually, good afternoon. It's an absolute honor to be here today, surrounded by such bright minds. First, when I was actually invited to speak on this topic about how AI and innovation can tackle sustainability, I felt a mix of both excitement and responsibility. Why? Because we're not just talking about something cool about technology or futuristic ideas and innovations, but more so about the future of our own planet, future of our families, and most importantly, the future of every single person who's a part of this meeting. So, let me just ask you a quick question before we actually begin. How many of us actually check our phone batteries for the battery percentage every day? I'm sure most of us do, but many of us pay the same attention to the energy our daily lives consume or the impact our habits have on the planet. It's interesting, isn't it? We are wired to care about certain efficiencies, but tend to overlook others that are just as important or even so much, much more important. So today, I'd like to talk about how we can change that. I want to explore how each of us can bridge the gap between technology and sustainability, not just in theory, but in real actionable ways. And most importantly, I think the best way to probably take this entire 10-minute talk through is through my journey on how we've identified a problem. And fortunately enough, how we are um, helping contribute to solve a problem about sustainability, a personal mission to make safety and efficiency accessible to everybody. So, buckle up. Let's dive into the world of sustainability and innovation, and let's hopefully try and make a difference. So this is more for the students who are a part of this discussion, but I'll try and cover different topics and different thoughts for all of you to think about. So let me ask you all a question, especially the students here. How many of you have dreamt of starting something of your own? Maybe an app, maybe a product, or just an idea that probably popped up in your head that could change the world? Now, I have a deeper question to ask. How many of you have stopped because you thought, I'll do that later? Maybe after college, maybe after work, or whenever I have some money. Well, let me tell you something. Your college years are the best time to start your entrepreneurial journey. Why? Because you're at this perfect point in life where there's an intersection of both creativity, curiosity, and let's be honest, very, very little to lose when you're on college campus. Not a lot of responsibilities, too. The biggest risk you probably are taking is skipping a Netflix marathon or being judged by your friends for your so called crazy idea. And guess what? Some of the most successful companies, like, say, Facebook, Google, or even Ola for that matter, were born during college. Student entrepreneurs have a unique advantage. You're not tied down by the pressures of life yet. You can experiment, fail, learn, and grow in an environment where people actually forgive you for your mistakes. The question really isn't, should I start? Rather, it is, why not start now? So let me take you through my story about how Smart Chakra and Sonicscape really began. It's a story about 17, 18 years ago where my family and I had a terrible accident where we were traveling and one of our cars were underinflated. And to our bad luck, we encountered a puncture too. Thankfully, we survived, but we fought the battle of life and death then. But the experience stayed with me throughout. Fast forward to today, I realized something shocking that people still drive around with underinflated tires, and many of them don't even know the repercussions. And most importantly, they don't even realize that their tires are underinflated. Sure, there are sensors that are there, like your tire pressure monitoring sensors, your TPMS that are present in your most vehicles in your car tires that display it on the dashboard. But who is the real actuator? It's you. You need to take the vehicle out into the petrol pump to actually fill in air. You're supposed to do that, but most people don't. That's when we thought that why keep safety a choice? Why not make safety automatic and a mandate? And that's what actually gave birth to Smart Chakra. So tires are actually the drama queens. I really like quoting this. I never used this before, but tires are the drama queens of most vehicles. Um, Underinflated tires love attention. They increase fuel consumption and wear out faster. Overinflated tires are rebels. They make your ride very bumpy and reduce the grip and friction. And puncture tires are heartbreakers. They ruin your day when you least expect it. And the kicker out of this all, most people don't even know their tires are throwing tantrums. We just keep driving blissfully unaware. So here I am with the solution that we have built, Smart Chakra, and I take you through the journey through how we got to Sonicscape as well. So we've built a system which doesn't really have any human intervention at all, where we automatically adjust the tire pressure based on which terrain you're driving on. And if it's low, it automatically inflates the tire. And when it's high, we automatically deflate the tire. It's not just any other sensor that tells you what's going wrong. It's the solution that think of it more like a personal trainer for your car tires. So, no more petrol pumps, no more manual interventions. It's automatic, seamless, and frankly, absolutely nothing to worry about. This doesn't just save time, it saves money. Properly inflated tires improve your fuel efficiency, improve the equilibrium of your vehicles, which means fewer trips to the gas station, and most importantly, reduces tons and tons of carbon footprint. While working on this solution, we identified that a certain part of ours wasn't able to come into the market due to a downtime because of the machine part being broken down. And this was not the problem in one certain machine, but this was a problem across various machines that were there in various manufacturing sectors. And that was when we identified that this was a problem that needed to be solved because if not us, then who? And that gave birth to Sonicscape, where we do predictive analysis, preventive as well. We warn the machine masters or the production managers that this particular machine is going to go into fault much before it happens and help save and give them a production analytics for them. So typically, any kind of machine that runs can use Sonicscape in the manufacturing sector. This approach minimizes downtime, prevents costly failures, and extends machine lifespans because we are trying to solve a problem much before it actually happens. Sonicscape enhances energy efficiency by identifying inefficiencies such as clogged filters or refrigerant leaks and optimizing cooling levels in real time. By addressing these inefficiencies, it significantly reduces power consumption, cutting operational costs and minimizing environmental impact. So, here I am to talk about various myths and facts that are being circulated around, and most probably bust the myths that are even there. So the first myth that everyone has is you need $1 million idea. This is a reality check for everyone. It's not about how fancy or unique your idea is. It's about solving a real problem. Smart Chakra or Sonicscape for that matter isn't some futuristic robot. It's a solution to a simple real world issue. The second myth, you need investors or loads of money to start. Nope, you don't need it. Start small, prototype, test, learn, and fail and improve. You don't need $1 million to validate an idea. Sometimes all you need is a few curious friends who would probably call your idea crazy, a mentor, and a bit of caffeine. The third myth, failure is the end. If failure really was the end, trust me on this, none of us would ever achieve anything. Failure is just a fancy badge of honor. It's proof that you tried and now you know that doesn't work, so wear it with pride. Understanding the risks and rewards of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. There are risks. You lose time, sleep, and maybe a little social life. A lot, actually. You'll have days when you doubt yourself and your idea. But here's the flip side, the rewards are unmatched. There's nothing like seeing your idea come to life, making an impact, and creating something meaningful. It's a roller coaster ride. But trust me on this, the highs are worth every single low. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the risks. Starting something of your own is extremely scary. There's no sugarcoating it. You'll face uncertainty, doubt, and days when everything feels like it's falling apart. People might question your choices, might outright laugh at your ideas, and yes, you will make mistakes. Plenty of them. But here's the thing, every entrepreneur has been through this. The key is to see these risks as a part of the journey. For example, when I first started Smart Chakra, or even when I started Sonicscape, I had a million what ifs, what if not, running through my head. What if it doesn't work? What if people don't see the value? What if the technology fails? But I realized something. The bigger the risk, there is nothing that is going to be worth it. Because doing nothing guarantees that nothing is going to change. And let's not forget the rewards. The highs of entrepreneurship are unmatched. The moment you see your idea turn into reality, it's surreal. And yes, there are practical rewards too, financial independence, recognition, opportunities to network with inspiring people. I'm really privileged to be a part of this panel discussion itself. But the best reward is the growth you experience. You evolve, You become someone who's not afraid to dream and take risks. I think this is the most important slide that I have here. Sustainability as the core of innovation, the connection between both Smart Chakra, Sonicscape, and the sustainability. Think about this. Transportation accounts roughly nearly 25% of global carbon dioxide emissions. It's a huge contributor to climate change. And while we're all looking at electric vehicles or public transport as solutions, we often ignore one of the simplest factors, something as simple as the tire efficiency. Here's where it gets serious. Underinflated tires are responsible for millions of gallons of wasted fuel every single year. That's not just an environmental problem, it's economic one too. For you and for me, it means spending more on fuel. For the planet, it means more unnecessary emissions choking our atmosphere. And there's the waste issue. Improperly maintained tires wear out much faster, which means they're disordered, discarded more often. Do you know how long it probably takes for a tire to decompose? Hundreds and thousands of years. So every tire that actually gets dumped into a landfill is essentially sitting there, contributing to pollution, leaching chemicals into the soil, and creating a long-term environmental hazard. Sonicscape is a powerful example of how technology can serve into sustainability. In manufacturing, it reduces energy waste, raw material overuse by ensuring machinery are operating efficiently and sustainably. Predictive analysis and predictive analytics both support a circular system by extending machine footprints. In air conditioning system, Sonicscape promotes eco-friendly footprints. And this is not only minimizes carbon dioxide emissions, but also with global sustainability goals by reducing the environmental impact. By addressing sustainability challenges in everyday operations, Sonicscape demonstrates how innovative technology can not only solve pressing environmental issues, but deliver significant economic and social benefits. Both of the solutions that we build, be it Smart Chakra or Sonicscape,
One
are
minute.
really small solutions, but with a big impact. And that's the beauty of sustainability. It's not about giant leaps, it's about consistency, incremental steps that add up over time. At its core, Smart Chakra isn't just a product, it's a statement that technology can and should work for the planet, not against it. Next slide. So steps. Oh, I have two more slides. Let me try and finish it as soon as possible. Steps on how you can become a student entrepreneur. They're simple. I actually had a couple of points that I wanted to cover, but I'll just probably go through the points I have in my head at the top level. Find a problem to solve that's around you. Find something that's really frustrating you. Look around you, see what can be made easier, wiser, and finding that problem is point number one. Two, you need to just start small. Three, you can use your colleges, you can use your mentors, friends as your inspirators and as a big resource. Four, learn by doing. What do I mean by that? I need you guys to actually try, test it, fail, learn, and improve. And finally, embrace failure. Remember, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of the journey. Learn from it and keep moving forward. Next slide. Yes, bridging technology and sustainability. I think I've tried, the previous panelists have spoken quite a bit about it, and I might not be able to finish all of what I had planned. But all I have to say in this particular slide is, if we can, these are thoughts that probably could work out for you. Imagine applying the mindset of smart cities that manage energy consumption more efficiently, AI systems that optimize waste management and recycling, renewable energy systems powered by smarter grid technologies. Something as simple as designing a wearable device that monitors and reduces carbon footprints, or even an AI platform that helps industry transition to greener operations. These aren't distant dreams, they're achievable realities. What we need is only a mindset shift. We need to stop being sustainability as a choice and more as a responsibility. And I'm sure that we'd come up with so many solutions because we have the resources to and access to everything and anything. My last slide, so I'll try and finish. Call to action is now. It's not about when I do it, it's more about doing it right now. Every choice you make, every idea you bring to life, every step you take, it all matters. And all you can do that is now. So whether it is a small idea or whether it's a big idea, my challenge to you all is Start small, but start now. Think about the problems you see around you and how you can solve them sustainably. Collaborate, innovate, and don't be afraid to fail. Remember, the time to act isn't tomorrow, it's today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya. It was interesting to hear from Gen Z telling Gen Z how we need to resolve problems. Yeah, we made quite a bit of a problems, but we also have our own solutions. So we can't wait for somebody who's going to come and solve our problems, and we are going to be solving our problems. Uh,
Yes.
Due to paucity of time, I'm not in a position to take questions. But like I suggested, if attendees have questions, please share your questions, and we will make sure that each one of your questions are answered. Here is an email ID, contact@premjainmemorialtrust.com. We'd like to hear your questions, or you have any ideas that you want to share with us to take this conversation forward. What do you think we can do? You want to hear more? You want to get some more inputs? Or you got a great idea, you want to get some funding. Let us know how we can pursue this conversation forward. This is just the beginning of a conversation we've had, and let's see how we all collectively can do. So, problem solving is not the responsibility of government and industry, but it's each one of us. And even a simple problem, as much as managing tire pressure, can motivate somebody to solve problem for the country. Reducing accidents is another major area that it can do. There are many areas that you can work together to solve them. So share your ideas, share your thoughts. Here is the email ID that you can do. And you want to post something, here's our social media handles as well. Feel free to post and ask those questions. Don't be worried. It's going to be awkward or not. Just ask them and seek answers. I guess that's what we want to say. Thank you, each one of you, for the panelists who have been part of the panel today to share your perspectives and thoughts on how AI is opening up new opportunities for sustainability, to enhance sustainability, and to make sure that all of us live well in the future and make sure future generations can look at solutions much better than what we have. Thank you all the attendees for staying through the session. I hope each one of you have got at least one takeaway from this discussion that we've had, and hope we'll receive a lot more questions and ideas of how we can work together on this space. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Wonderful session.
Thank you.
Very rich on insights. And,
Thanks.
and amazing that as many students have stayed on. Thank you so much. Obviously, you see benefits from this session. And these are all very, very wonderful experts. You can reach out to all of these people. I'm sure they will share and they will be very happy to help you as you go. Thank you, all of you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Yatin,
Arunji.
for all your
Thank you
support.
very much.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks. Thank you, Yatin.
The Sutradhar of this AI session.
Absolutely. He is the Sutradhar. Yes. Yes. True. Thank you so much. We'll exit now.
Yatin, I've shared the email ID. So,
Yes,
and
sir.
there are a couple of questions. So, and one person has also asked a question and they want an answer. How we balance sustainability with carbon emission goals? I think one, Chinmay has responded. The other one we need to do. So, if we get any emails, do share it, and then we'll see how we'll
Yes, sir.
respond to
Yeah.
each one of them to continue the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Arun.
Thank you.
Grateful to you. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a nice
Thank you.
day. Bye.
Bye. Likewise. Bye.